In this episode, I'm sitting down with the great filmmaker Alison Duke, who has made a documentary about one of the great legends of Canadian drag, Michelle Ross. Me and Alison get into Michelle's incredible story and the other sides of Michelle that even those close to her didn't know that the documentary really portrays in this incredible way. So your documentary, Unknown Icon, shows the world Michelle Ross, someone who a lot of people know, but a lot of people don't, and that's a real shame.
Yes, and even the people closest to Michelle didn't really know Michelle.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when I was, very young and going out to the clubs on Church Street and going to the clubs because Michelle was there. And just seeing her on stage, and she would just give you a little nod and a little wink and blow a kiss at you. Just to acknowledge you, and I was just so thrilled that I was able to come on board this film.
I moved to Toronto from like a small town in 2002, and Michelle was one of the first drag queens I ever saw, because this was before drag queens being on TV. So, and I just remember thinking, who is this? Because she's so incredible, and I had no idea at that point. She'd been working for, this was 2002, like 25, 20, 30 years already at this point. Like, her story is incredible.
Definitely a pioneer in our scene. It just laid the foundation for so many other performers that came after her.
Yeah.
She worked alongside people like Chris Edwards, who passed away.
Yeah.
And Duchess was her drag daughter, and so many people. And a few of them are in the film, and they talk about the influence.
The people in the film that you speak so eloquently about Michelle and what she did for that community, specifically for people of color in that community, like, she really paved the way in so many ways.
There wasn't a lot of black performers that were allowed to be on the stages, unless you were a Michelle Ross. You had to be definitely of that caliber, like top notch. And so, Michelle was there, and she lobbied for change, and she got a lot of people started.
Yeah.
And people are still going.
Yeah, she really sort of changed the makeup of the Toronto queer community, really, in general, like, let alone for drag performers. And, just to get into it for some people that maybe don't know, like, Michelle started in the early 1970s.
She was there at the very beginning, like at Club Manatee.
Yeah.
When there was this like after hours club that people used to go to, and you can go all ages, and they played disco. And Michelle was there performing at Club Manatee, and I'm just looking at the archival footage of that time, and we were so lucky that we got a hold of that footage.
Yeah, it's some incredible footage in this film.
Oh yeah, just seeing it, and I was like, I wanted to be there, during that time. Didn't you feel like you wanted
100%. Like, I felt very nostalgic for a period that I never existed in, and also just really grateful that the film got to show me, decades of Toronto queer nightlife in a way that I didn't know. I didn't know about Club Manatee. It looked like a great time, and I'm sure it was.
It looked like an amazing time, and there's so much more footage that I wish I got a chance to use, but hopefully in another film I can use it. And then also the Lacage, right?
Yeah.
The Lacage movement. I heard about it, and that was not so much, they didn't call it drag performers, but female impersonators. Yeah. And Michelle was a part of that scene as well. And just to see that footage and how drag culture was presented at that time, and to more like a mainstream audience, non-queer audience, and how people looked like they were having such a good time.
Yeah, totally. And she's also in Outrageous, the 1977 film, I believe, but I think, which is a great film to go watch after they watch your movie, because it also really shows you that world, like, in a pretty incredible way.
That movie, I remember watching it years ago, and then watching it again in preparation of making this film, and the footage of Michelle in there and other people it's just so dazzling. It's just so like, what? Some of it was funny, and some of it was like, oh, this is really serious. But but it was a great film to, once again, get our hands on and be able to put in this film.
Yeah, it's so great that like, also the archives are featured in your film. Like, thank God we have that place who has been sort of maintaining queer history for us in such an incredible way in this country.
There's a part of the film where we go to the queer archives, and we kind of look at what they had of Michelle, and they didn't have much. They had some things were donated after Michelle's death, but it wasn't near where it needed to be. A lot of places, I just want to use the word mainstream, but we know who they are, like the libraries, the education, whatever. They don't really look at archiving and documenting queer stories and queer people in our communities. We need to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And they do such a good job.
Yeah, they're so nice there. I've been quite a few times, and it's just incredible that we're just very lucky it exists, because I don't think too many countries, let alone have something like that, let alone cities.
And you can go in. This is the thing. You can make an appointment and go in and look at stuff, which is great to do. So,
would highly recommend if you're in Toronto.
Right.
Archives with a Q.
Yes.
This film also gets into who Michelle was outside of drag in a way that I had no idea. And it's a pretty remarkable, the access you get to her family and the intimacy that you have with people that knew Michelle out of drag. And I just wanted to sort of ask you about what it was like to sort of uncover that and be sort of the guide for this story to get out there.
Yeah, that's a very emotional part for me, because I'm a queer Black woman, and for many years I couldn't come out to my family. And, just to hear very early on that Michelle didn't come out to their family, I was wondering, like, how is that possible? You're so famous.
Yeah.
Like, how could they not know? So I want to know, like, in that family, how did that work?
Yeah.
Kind of psychologically. And so the family was up for it. Basically, I approached them and I said, every person has many sides to them, and we have to make something that shows all of Michelle. Not just Michelle the performer or Michelle who but all sides of her.
I mean, the film is very successful in doing that. And it also felt to me, without giving too much away, that it was a really healing process. From viewing it, it seemed like a really healing process for the family to be involved in this film.
And that's ultimately, we'd want that for every person who's in a queer family, that there could be some common ground at the end. And I think this film allowed that to happen. I'm hoping that there's some healing and some understanding, so the next person that they have in their family, there's a more open space for them.
Yeah, and I mean, and this is especially important, I think, because as the film sort of opens with, Michelle died during COVID. Mm-hmm. People did not get to grieve her properly. There was only 15 people at her funeral. That's really horrible.
It's horrible for someone of that stature, right?
Yeah.
Because Michelle Ross passing, it should be like bells, whistles,
And
everything, right? It would have been a whole celebration,
a parade,
sort of like a Mardi Gras down Church Street. So there's little, nice little moments with people, how they are honoring Michelle throughout the film.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And I'm just so happy that you made this film and that it's going to get out there for people that need to see it because they loved Michelle already, but also for people who aren't aware of her. Like, the film gets into it a little bit, how fearful people are of us losing this history or losing knowledge of this history being passed down to generations in the queer community and beyond.
And that's such an important point, because Michelle's not here to pass it on. She passed away suddenly, right? And normally, people would have time to, pass on that knowledge, but she left her legacy in her clothing, in her mannerisms, in the songs that she selected to perform. And I try to put all of that in the film so that people can remember her.
I'm so excited for people to get to see it and to get to know Michelle, and then maybe go watch Outrageous, or maybe go take a trip to the archives, or there's so much that we can do to maybe let your film be an entry point into continuing this journey to learn not only about Michelle, but about the history of drag in this country, the history of queer people in this country. It's very important, obviously, to both of us. But so hopefully this film goes a long way in getting that started for somebody.
Well, I hope so too, and thank you very much for watching our film.
No, absolutely, my pleasure. And I'm going to take your Polaroid.
Lovely. That's such a cute idea.